Welcome to Film Recap Zone. Today we'll be breaking down the movie Triple Frontier. This movie was released on Netflix in 2019, which has an IMDb rating 6.5 out of 10. Let's dive into this thrilling story of special forces taking on a drug cartel robbery. The movie kicks off with Santiago Pope Garcia, a former special forces operative now working as a private military advisor. He's assigned the task of locating workers connected to a powerful drug lord, Gabriel Martin Lorea, deep in the rural areas of Colombia. With the help of local police, their mission is to gather intelligence on Lorea's whereabouts. As they close in on a building where the cartel's workers are holed up, a fierce gunfight erupts. Santiago quickly finds cover and uses a grenade launcher to blow apart the hideout. After the dust settles, the police capture one of the cartel members who survived the blast. They interrogate him using intimidation tactics, demanding to know where Lorea is hiding. Under pressure, one of the captives finally spills the beans, revealing that Lorea is hiding in a jungle safehouse. But the police, skeptical of his claim, executed him and the others. As the police round up the remaining captives, a woman named Giovanna manages to escape. Santiago and the officers chase after her, but she slips away. Later, Santiago tracks her down to her apartment. Giovanna is his informant. She proposes a deal. If Santiago helps free her brother, who was arrested in the earlier raid, she'll reveal Lorea's location and details about his hidden fortune. Giovanna explains how she was promoted to a position where she regularly delivers truckloads of cash to Lorea's jungle hideout, where his entire fortune is stashed. She also warns Santiago that the very police officers he's been working with are actually on Lorea's payroll, leaving Santiago frustrated that he's been chasing his tail the whole time. Realizing the opportunity, Santiago decides to assemble a crew for a heist. He first reaches out to William Ironhead Miller, a former Delta Force captain, who agrees to join only if Tom Redfly Davis is on board. Tom, another former Delta Force member, is now struggling as a real estate agent, dealing with family issues and financial strain. Santiago manages to track him down to pitch the heist idea, hoping to convince him to return for one more mission. Tom and Santiago drop off his daughter, Tess, at school. As they drive, Santiago outlines his plan to Tom, explaining that he struck a deal with the agency allowing them to keep 25% of any money seized. He estimates that Lorea's stash contains over $75 million in cash. Although the potential reward is immense, Tom is still reluctant, knowing the operation is high risk and illegal. Next, Santiago recruits Francisco Catfish Morales, a former pilot, and Ben Miller, William's brother, who is now a professional MMA fighter. After Ben's fight, Santiago meets up with them in the locker room, presenting the plan and convincing them to join. Tom eventually shows up, and the group discusses how they'll execute the operation. Santiago has already prepared fake passports, which they'll use to pass through immigration under the guise of Powerline consultants. Once inside the country, they'll remain off the grid, avoiding facial recognition cameras, effectively becoming invisible. Hearing the solid, well-thought-out plan, Tom finally agrees to participate. The team then heads to Colombia. After arriving, they drive out to the jungle to scope out Lorea's heavily fortified mansion. They hide in the trees, studying the compound and planning their best way in. Santiago explains that every Sunday, Lorea's family attends a 6 a.m. church service, taking 3 guards with them. This leaves Lorea at home with a reduced security detail of just 3 guards. While they observe, a van arrives at the mansion carrying Giovanna, Santiago's informant. Santiago had tasked her with discreetly filming inside Lorea's house to confirm the location of the money. Giovanna meets Lorea under the pretext of discussing a delivery while secretly capturing footage of the mansion and its stash. She leaves unnoticed. Later that night, the team gathers over drinks. William brings up the agency's involvement, asking when they'll step in. Santiago reveals that he has no intention of informing the agency and proposes that they do the heist on their own, keeping all the cash for themselves. He explains that if the agency gets involved, Lorea will be tipped off through his police connections and escape before they can get to him. Santiago reminds them of their current struggles, and one by one, they finally agree to go ahead with the plan. The group decides to strike while Lorea's family is at church to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Tom estimates they'll have about 40 minutes to pull off the job. However, they'll need an extra vehicle to haul the money since the family's vans will be gone. Santiago assures them that Giovanna will arrange for an additional van to be on the property. The next day, Santiago meets with Giovanna to collect the recording and finalize the arrangement. He offers her $2 million and a safe way out of the country in exchange for ensuring the extra van is available during the heist. Later, Santiago meets up with the crew in a remote location where they've gathered armor and weapons, preparing for the heist. The following Sunday morning, under heavy rain, they arrive at Lorea's mansion, hiding in the nearby brush as they wait for the family to depart. Shortly after, Giovanna arrives with the van, successfully playing her part, and quickly leaves. With the coast clear, the crew makes their move, sneaking into the house and quietly taking down the guards. However, they can't find either Lorea or the money. Regrouping in the house's office, the team starts to suspect they've been double-crossed and consider retreating. But Santiago, recalling Giovanna's words about the house being safe, notices fresh paint on the walls. He realizes that the cash is hidden within the walls themselves. Without hesitation, he starts smashing through the drywall, revealing bundles of money. Excitement builds as the team rips apart the walls, uncovering far more cash than they had initially anticipated. Time is running short, so they stuff as much of the money as possible into bags, quickly filling the van. Santiago proposes that they torch the house after leaving, as a final blow to Lorea. As they spread gasoline around the mansion, a secret compartment suddenly opens, revealing a very alive and startled Lorea. In a frenzy, Lorea opens fire wildly, hitting William before Santiago manages to take him out. Luckily, they've brought medical supplies and are able to patch William up to stop the bleeding. They also eliminate the remaining guards and light the gasoline, setting the mansion ablaze before making their escape. As they drive away, they spot Lorea's family returning, but decide to keep calm and drive past them without causing suspicion. The crew stops at a clearing where a helicopter arrives to extract them. Santiago also meets with Giovanna and her brother, handing them the promised payment. The crew weighs the money, discovering that it totals a staggering £6,000, equivalent to about $250 million. However, they run into a major issue. The helicopter can't carry that much weight at the high altitude. Unwilling to leave any of the cash behind, they decide to take the risk and attempt the journey, taking Giovanna and her brother with them as they head over the border into Peru. After some time, Giovanna reaches her destination, where Tom confronts her, asking if she knows their names, as she's the only one with that information. She reassures him that all she knows is that they served together, as Santiago told her. A few moments later, Santiago arrives to hand her their passports, $3 million, and 2 tickets to start a new life in Sydney, Australia. Giovanna asks how she can contact him, subtly hinting at her feelings for him. Santiago notices but keeps things professional, telling her she won't be able to reach him. He advises her to take care, and they share a bittersweet farewell. As the crew presses on, they approach their final obstacle, crossing the Andes. The weight issue they had feared becomes a reality when the helicopter's engine begins to fail. Forced to lighten the load, they start tossing bags of cash out to avoid crashing. Still unable to gain enough altitude, they continue losing height, leaving them no choice but to land. The weight of the cash makes it difficult, so they jettison another sack, and they manage to land safely on an agricultural farm, with the money sack landing nearby. Villagers, armed and cautious, approach the team and attempt to take the money. Santiago tries to calm them down, but when one villager reaches for a weapon, Tom instinctively reacts, shooting several of them. To make amends for the destruction and loss of life, Santiago offers the village chief a share of the money. The chief agrees, and they provide mules to help transport the remaining cash. As they journey onward with the mules, a young man stares at them with vengeful eyes, mourning his father's death. The village chief intervenes, telling the boy to let it go, as they've paid for their mistake. The crew continues their trek and eventually rests for the night in the forest. The next morning, while crossing a steep mountain pass, one of the mules slips, sending a cash-laden bag tumbling down the cliffs. Later, they reach a point where they must climb a mountain on foot, so they free the mules and haul the money bags up using ropes. Exhausted and cold, they pause to rest, with Ben burning some of the cash to start a fire in the freezing night. The next morning, they push onward up the rocky terrain when suddenly, gunfire erupts. The crew scatters to locate the shooter, and Tom soon spots a teenage boy aiming from higher ground. Tom takes him out with a single shot, thinking the threat is over. However, just as Tom turns, the boy's accomplice, the same teen who lost his father earlier, shoots Tom in the head, killing him instantly. Santiago quickly shoots and kills the boy, but it's too late. Tom is gone. The sight of their fallen comrade leaves the group devastated, with William blaming his brother Ben for Tom's death, claiming that the fire he built with the money gave away their location. A fight breaks out between the brothers, but Santiago intervenes, pointing out that the attackers were the vengeful boys from the village, not because of the fire. Encouraging them to stay focused, Santiago reminds the group that Tom's family, as well as they themselves, deserve the money. With heavy hearts, they wrap Tom's body and continue their difficult trek across the snowy mountain, burdened not just by the weight of the money, but by the loss of their friend. They approach the meeting point where a man is supposed to pick them up with a boat. By now, they're 5 days late, and doubts begin to creep in about whether the boat is still waiting. They decide to send Ben ahead to check while the rest remain behind. Fortunately, Ben returns with good news the next morning, confirming that the boat is still there. He also hands over some money to the boatman to ensure he wouldn't leave. Ben also informs them that nearby, there are over 20 armed teenagers hunting for them, likely Lara's gang. Santiago suggests eliminating the teenagers to ensure their safe passage, but the others firmly oppose, arguing that they can't justify killing innocent kids. Feeling the weight of the situation, Santiago begins to blame himself for everything that's gone wrong, apologizing sincerely. After this emotional exchange, the group agrees they can only take the money they can carry, opting to dump most of it into the abyss, as carrying both the money and Tom's body such a long distance is impossible. Ben heads back to the boat undetected while the rest of the group carry Tom's body towards the town. Along the way, they spot an abandoned car hidden in the forest. Soon after, a teenage boy steps out, pointing a gun at them and turning on the car's lights. Not wanting to kill another teen, Santiago holsters his weapon and calmly tries to talk the boy down. However, the teen remains suspicious and calls for backup. Before the reinforcements can arrive, the crew hotwires the car and speeds off toward the boat. 2 cars pursue them, but Santiago manages to shoot out the tires, halting their attackers without further violence. Once they escape safely, the group gathers to split the remaining money, $5,334,120, divided into 5 equal shares of $1,066,824 each. When the lawyer arrives to deposit the funds, each member signs their share over to Tom's family trust. The movie concludes with the group saying their farewells, each preparing to figure out the next chapter of their lives. William stays behind for a final word with Santiago, who reveals that he's considering heading to Australia to see Giovanna. Before they part ways, William hands Santiago a slip of paper with the coordinates of the money bags they left behind, hoping he might one day put the cash to good use. This scene hints at the next part of the movie, but the second part of this has not come yet. As soon as the second part comes, I will also appear among you with its explanation. Until then, stay with the channel. And with that, the movie ends. Thanks for watching our recap. Be sure to check out our next recap, showing on the screen now, and don't forget to subscribe for more great content. See you next time.